I'm Joe Reinagel, Jason Minix. A little under the weather today. Little Cowboys fever as he tries to get over that thing. Hopefully he feels better. Send him a tweet. Tell him to get well. At Jason Minix. You can do that. You can hit me up on Twitter at Joe Reinagel 210. The Kielbasa Smoked Meat phone lines are open as well at 656-3776, 656 ESPN. And you know, I love you guys because you remind me of things that maybe I forgot about. Like Gary. Gary, what did I forget?
Hey, man, you forgot about San Antonio Brahmas.
San Antonio Brahmas. How about that? Yeah, that starts up after the Super Bowl, right? That'll be fun. All right, Gary, keep me on my toes, buddy. I appreciate that. San Antonio Brahmas. It's funny because my good friend Vinny Vincetta, who works at Ken's 5, I saw him post some stuff on social media that he was up in Dallas doing a story up there because that's where they're all doing their training camp. So Vinny was up there. So they're obviously going to cover that stuff. So there we go. Football in San Antonio again. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, I want to talk a little bit about play. You can, and I know Cowboy fans, most of you are hardcore football fans too, and you're going to be watching this maybe with a little bitter taste in your mouth, but you're going to be watching. I know you're going to be watching. San Francisco and Philadelphia will kick things off on Sunday, the NFC Championship game on Fox, and the lines have come out, right? So Philadelphia is installed as a 2.5-point favorite over the San Francisco 49ers. I guess that's about right. I mean, it should be about that, don't you think? The other one's going to be a little bit kind of tricky because we don't know if Patrick Mahomes is going to play or not. And, you know, Vegas obviously is going to look at that. I mean, they're going to. Because if Mahomes is not there, you got to figure Cincinnati would be a big favorite. And I saw earlier on that, I can't find a current one right now, but I saw earlier that Kansas City opened up at about a 2.5, 3-point favorite, but it's come down to just a 1-point favorite at this point in time. So, again, that could change tremendously. Here I found the story. It says the Chiefs opened up as a 1.5-point favorite, but the line flipped today to the Bengals being favored. And that's all because of Patrick Mahomes. So, it's going to be interesting to see, and that line could change a lot. Don't get me wrong. I guarantee you every gambler in Vegas and every sports book in Vegas is going to be watching to see what kind of news comes out of Kansas City's practice on Wednesday. I would assume that Mahomes is not going to practice at all this week. I mean, maybe a walkthrough or two, but any kind of practice session, he's not going to. If there's any chance that he's going to play on Sunday, they're going to give him every opportunity, and he'll go through all the treatments and all of that stuff. So, my good friend Pledge, we took a break and we're out in the hallway, and I had asked the question before we went to break, who right now is the best quarterback in the NFL? And Pledge, he goes, hey, I know you're going to pick Joe Burrow, but I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. So tell me why I'm wrong, Pledge.
They're really close. It's 1A, 1B. So let's move past that. I think
can't be a 1A, 1B. Got to be a 1 and a 2.
Well, it's 1 and 2.
Okay.
But they're very close.
Okay. Why is Mahomes better than Joe Burrow?
Because I've seen him do it without.
Okay.
I saw him do it without at Texas Tech with lesser talent.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him do it with the Chiefs. You take away Tyreek Hill, you take away his weapons, and the only weapon he has left, you said yourself, his blankie is Travis Kelce.
It is.
But whether it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Mecole Hardman, Jerick McKinnon, doesn't matter. Juju Smith-Schuster, just a who's who cavalcade of wide receivers. Justin Watson is a guy he's used from time to time.
Yeah.
He does it with less. Joe Burrow, since LSU, has had all the toys. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. He's got T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, Jamar Chase again, Joe Mixon. I mean, he's just always had a plethora of weapons to work with. I've never seen him do it without.
Well, and you bring up a good point. And again, I think Cincinnati overall as a team is a better team than anybody else. Just they're the most complete. And I'm talking about in the AFC. They showed that in Buffalo yesterday. Man, I don't know. It's to me, I love Patrick Mahomes, and you're right. I mean, if I'm picking one or the other, 1-2, and you have to. I love to watch Patrick Mahomes play football. He's just a magician. He really is. But Joe Burrow, I think, and it's going to sound funny because I think Mahomes has it too, but Burrow just has that. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to lose, and I'm going to go out. I'm going to win this game. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win this game. And it just, to me, he is, if I had to start a team, I'm picking Joe Burrow as my quarterback. But you're right about the weapons. I mean, Chase is a pretty good weapon. Justin Jefferson's a pretty good player too. So
T. Higgins, pretty good player.
Yeah, T. Higgins is good too.
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah. Joe Mixon.
But at the same time, you say he wins. So is Patrick Mahomes. Every year he's been the starter.
Except
okay. It is the ultimate team sport.
It is. It is. I'm looking forward to it. I just hope you think.
And I think it's funny that, we don't get that overtime game or that, what's his name? Josh Allen didn't get to touch the ball. So we had to change the overtime rules. Yet 2 years prior, that happened to Patrick Mahomes when Tom Brady got the ball in overtime, drove down the field and scored. No rule changes were talked about then.
Well, it's Tom Brady. That's why. Tom Brady makes the rules as far as how much the balls are inflated and, all that stuff. So, I mean, it's Tom Brady, for goodness sake.
Like I said, they're both, and you can't go wrong with either, it feels like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I can't argue that. But I just, of those two guys, and I think, Josh Allen kind of took a step back. And you made a good point. You brought it up on the screen a minute ago. Brian Daboll. He came from Buffalo. Josh Allen excelled with him.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's gone to New York. And Daniel Jones had his best season. And now the Giants say, we want him back. And so, coaching, I guess, in that respect makes a difference. But this guy certainly has made a difference in that quarterback's life for sure.
100%. And look at the head coaches of both of those quarterbacks we're talking about. You got one of the greatest ever in Andy Reid, and you got a really bright up-and-comer with Zach Taylor. From the McVay tree.
I like the confidence of Burrow, the cockiness, because it is. There's a fine line between a very confident person and one that can ride the edge of cocky. And I think Joe Burrow does that. And that bite that we've been playing, I don't know if you got it handy there. When the CBS reporter, I can't remember her name. She's really good. She's been with CBS for a long time. But that particular bite where she asked Joe Burrow, because remember, they were going to go to Atlanta and play the AFC Championship game on a neutral site had it been Kansas City and Buffalo, just because, Buffalo still had a chance to get the number 1 seed. And, it turned out that Kansas City got it. So they were doing that, and they had already sold.
Tracy Wolfson?
That's her. So they were doing that, and they'd already sold 50,000 tickets. So Joe Burrow was asked about this, and this is classic Joey Burrow.
Job's not finished. We got another big one next week on the road. Excited for it.
We talked about it yesterday, just that chip on your shoulder. Everyone talking about a neutral AFC Championship game, not even thinking about you guys. How much did that motivate you coming into this?
You better send those refunds.
Now, who thinks of that? Right? I mean, who thinks of that? Better send those refunds. I think it's great because that I have a feeling was a battle cry for the Bengals yesterday.
And I was talking about this on the Saturday Morning Hangover on why I picked the Bengals in that game because of that edge. Because think about where they were at that point of the season when that game got canceled.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is a game behind Buffalo. They beat Buffalo, which they were up 7-3 and driving at that point. They win that game. They have the same record. They would have had home field advantage. There should have been a neutral site game played for that game.
Yeah.
But they did all these other neutral sites possible with the AFC North between the Ravens and Bengals. They're doing the Chiefs and Bills, but they put no thought into Cincinnati and Buffalo and what that game meant to those two meeting up in the playoffs.
Well, I think it was just such a crazy thing that happened, something that was unprecedented. They didn't really know what to do, and they tried to figure out the best thing. However, what I was afraid of, because the NFL talked about it, and we talked about it here on the Blitz last week, that there is talk among the NFL about making the AFC, NFC championship games at a neutral site. And I would hate to see that for a variety of reasons. I mean, you work your butt off all season trying to get home field advantage, and then you're the number one seed, but you're going to go play in Atlanta. So I'm happy that experiment didn't work out.
The owners will never let that happen.
Well, I hope not.
Because now you're talking about revenue out of the owner's pocket.
I hope not. So we'll see what happens. But it should be a good game. I hope Mahomes is somewhere near healthy. It's just that high ankle sprain, man. That's tough, and it's usually takes a lot longer. So we'll see what happens with that goes. We're asking you, who is the best quarterback in the NFL right now? I don't know. Not the greatest of all time last year. We're going to now, who is the best quarterback in the NFL? We'll take your phone calls on the Kielbasa Smoke Meat phone lines coming up in just a moment. Doc, you got a line there, and the rest of you, keep your line, because we'll come back here on the Blitz. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Right now, we're looking forward to the playoffs, what's left of them, the AFC, NFC championship games, and there's some good young talent at the quarterback position that are still alive and still well. So Pledge and I were asking the question, who is the best quarterback in the National Football League right now? And I'm not talking about past, I'm talking about right now. I like Joe Burrows. Pledge says Patrick Mahomes. We both say it's very close, 1-2, whichever way you go. But I ask you to call in and give your opinion. The Kielbasa Smoke Meat phone lines are open at 656-3776. And Doc wants to weigh in on this quarterback debate. Doc, welcome to the Blitz.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Doing well.
So I'm not going to go into the Cowboys game because that still hurts. But I think Mahomes and Burrow, they're exactly who they have to be successful. I think Mahomes likes having those high level receivers that aren't the guys who are like, hey, I need 15 balls my way. He just wants guys who are going to run routes, and then he'll throw it to whoever's open. And Kelsey's a great team player, as are all the other wide receivers. So I think that's what makes Mahomes great, is he's going to make his receivers great. I think Burrow's the type of guy that ignites the offense and defense. He can walk into a locker room and the guys on defense are like, that's a cool dude right there. I want to play for him. And he knows how to drive the Ferrari. He likes to have good players. It takes a good driver to drive the Ferrari. You just can't put anybody in there. And I think, they're both their type of quarterbacks. And if I was starting a team, I'd probably pick Joe Burrow. I love that dude. He just walks with swag, talks with swag, and I'd follow him into battle.
He does, man. I appreciate the call, Doc, and I agree with you. Joey Burrow is the guy. Let's go back to Xavier. Welcome to the Blitz.
Yes, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
It's Jalen Hurts, bro.
Jalen Hurts, huh? Why's that?
Yes, he's the MVP. Like, he has the best receivers that are left. I understand Jamar Chase is pretty sick, but there's no way that he's going to be able to beat the Eagles. They're too good. You
know what, Xavier? I think that you're right about MVP. Hurts should win it, but I don't think he's going to. I think it's going to go to Mahomes. But all you need to know, and the true definition of MVP, is how does your team perform when you're not there? Now, we didn't get that sample size with the Chiefs, and obviously they're going to struggle without Patrick Mahomes. But you saw it when Jalen Hurts went down for those two games. That Philadelphia Eagles team was not the same. Now, they played the Cowboys tight, but they ended up losing, right? And then they got roasted the next week. What was that? Was that Jacksonville? I can't. It was Jacksonville?
The Eagles?
Yeah, when they got beat the second time. Gardner Minshew was not as good. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. The point being is that when Jalen Hurts was out, the Eagles looked just, rudderless. He comes back. He was healthy on Saturday night in that playoff game, and they just destroyed the New York Giants.
Saints.
The Saints. Okay. And they just destroyed. Coming into that game, I had been playing pretty well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Both of those teams have good defenses. Obviously, when you look at it, although I'm about ready to say that whole rookie thing with Brock Purdy's got to go away, because I don't think he's going to fall into it like a lot of Cowboy fans thought he was going to do this week. So I think quarterback-wise, obviously Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback, but Purdy's not going to make those mistakes, or at least he hasn't up until this point. Defense has got to go to San Francisco in that matchup, although Philadelphia is good. I don't know. It's a pretty tight matchup. I think the fact that it is in Philly is going to make a big difference. I mean, it's a long trip for the 49ers to fly all the way across the country to play out there. So it's going to be fun, man. I just love this time of year. It's bittersweet though, Pledge. I'll be honest with you, because I like the playoffs, but that means the season is almost over. It's bittersweet.
It's bittersweet, but that's why I fully dive into and embrace the draft process and free agency, because that gives me something to lay my hat on once the Super Bowl comes and goes.
Well, and you've got something to watch for here too. As a Texans fan, you're hoping that D'Amico Ryan is your new head coach.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Between him and Jonathan Gannon, which, I mean, that Eagles defense has played extremely well this year as well.
So a defensive coach, you think that's what the Texans need? I mean,
and this is the reason I want D'Amico Ryans. I don't care if you're offensive or defensive, because just be a leader of men. Sean McDermott is a defensive coach. Mike Tomlin is a defensive coach.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is a defensive coach. John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator. Like, you don't need to have the brightest offensive mind. You just have to know how to lead men and hire a good staff.
Well, and I think he'll do that. And what's going to be fascinating about that, if Ryans does go to Houston, the staff that he hires, and that could be a breath of fresh air for the Texans, just to have young, new thoughts and processes and how that all goes. It's going to be interesting to follow, and it'll be interesting to see if a guy like Dan Quinn is hired away from the Dallas Cowboys. If Sean Payton ends up, I think he's interviewed with like 6 teams now. Peyton has. And so, who's going to be willing to pull that trigger and give him the money and the control that he wants? That's going to be interesting to see. So a lot of things still to play out as the NFL season is winding down. But I just got to tell you guys all, thank you so much for the therapy today and for helping me get through this. Hopefully we helped you get through it as well. Cowboys are out, but football season is not. R&R in the morning. We'll see you tomorrow.
Blitz with Jason and Joe. Follow Jason at Jason Menix and Joe Reinagel at Joe Reinagel 210, and always at ESPNSA.com.
Good day.
KTFM Floresville. KZDC San Antonio.